You're listening to the Champ Off-Road Podcast, presented by Amsoil.
What's up? This is the Champ Off-Road Podcast presented by Amsoil. I'm Haley Shanley, and joining me today is a woman who is doing the most right now. She has her hands in so many different forms of motorsports. She's a professional fun haver and badass wheel woman, Gray Leadbetter. Gray, what's happening today?
Hi, I'm happy to be on, but basically we're just heading to ERX.
Right on. Well, I'm going to start out with this question, and not only because I want to know your preference for this podcast, but I also think it's interesting because I talk to so many different women in motorsports, and there seems to be a lot of different opinions about it. Obviously, a woman in motorsports, a leading lady yourself. What is your opinion on talking about the subject? Ultimately, do you want it to be something that, we don't talk about it because it's so normalized, or do you use it as kind of a platform?
No, I definitely think it is used as a platform. I think it's really cool to bring up young girls that are in the sport, because it's not very common for a female to be in the sport. But I think it is cool to be one of the few and just to bring it up more and recognize it more.
Right on. Now, bring me up to speed. I know you have your hands in so many different forms of motorsports and you do a lot for fun outside of your racing, but what are you all racing currently?
Basically, UTVs has been my main focus this year, with the short course. And then I raced Rallycross last year, which that sort of got held back because of COVID this year. But I did that last year with Dry and Reinbold Racing. And then away from that, I basically just raced Mini Outlaws and go-karts in North Carolina when I'm not up in Wisconsin racing UTVs.
Now, home for you, are you in Wisconsin right now, or are you still in North Carolina?
I am currently in Wisconsin, but where I do live as my home is North Carolina.
Gotcha. Right on. Well, Wisconsin's a great place to be for many different kinds of motorsports. Let me ask you about rally first. Last year, like you said, you signed with Dry Reinbold Racing. This was your big break into the pro ranks as far as rallycross racing goes. What was your reaction when you found out that news?
I was amazed. I mean, it had been my dream since I went to X Games at Austin, Texas back in 2015, and I saw it then, and I knew that that's something I wanted to do in the future. And then when I finally got the contract signed and got the contract to be able to read it, I was just like, it didn't seem real. And a year later, it still doesn't feel like it happened, but it did.
So are things kind of at a standstill with COVID as far as rally goes? I apologize, I'm not very fluent on that form of racing.
Yeah, it was partially about COVID, and then the season just fell through last year, or the series, I should say. So they had to bring up a new series, and it just didn't work out so well with Corona and all of that. So they just pushed it back a little longer. Right on.
Let's take it back to kind of the beginning of your career, your family, just your racing background. Your dad, you've said that he's kind of where you got your need for speed. Can you tell me more about that relationship with your dad?
So yeah, actually, what's funny is nobody in my family has raced before ever. So I basically we had friends that race dirt bikes because that's what people do where I live in North Carolina. They all do woods racing, and they said when she turns 3, get her on a PW50. And then I eventually did that, and once I finally got off training wheels and was somewhat decent, they said, okay, when she turns 4, put her in a race. And I basically raced it, fell in love, I guess, because I was 4. I don't really remember, but that's what I've been told, and then somehow we ended up here.
That's amazing. So it's been a lifelong deal for you. Now your family, like who do you make most nervous when you're out on track?
I guess you could say my dad, but I honestly would probably think it would be my grandma.
Right on. Now with all the racing in motorsports for fun that you also have your hands in, how much fun has it been to diversify like you've had?
Oh, it's been amazing. I mean, there's not many people out there that can go say they drove a UTV this weekend and then drove in a Dodge Hellcat in Arizona the next weekend. But it's amazing to be able to do everything I do. I mean, would it be possible without my dad? That's for sure, but it's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. What's the ultimate goal?
I mean, I don't really necessarily have one. Basically, just if I can get to the top of any type of motorsport, I mean, pretty much wherever, if I have an opportunity, I'll go for it.
How did you get connected with off-road racing?
I basically just met a team back in North Carolina in 2017, and they said, we'll put you in a car, and it was just a small team. And we did that because my dad had happened to get a UTV just by luck back in October of 2016, I believe, just for fun. And then because it was somewhat formed of a rally car, because it was all-wheel drive, manual stick shift. And then we met with a team, and they said, why don't we start racing? And then we went out and did the UTV World Championships in Nevada, and basically just went from there. And then somehow, I don't even really know how, but somehow we met with Johnny Greaves and ended up here.
2 years ago, you had your first UTV race with the Greaves. You guys have a great personal relationship. I know you're road tripping to Elk River now. Tell me about how Johnny and CJ are as mentors. What's it like to race under their guidance?
I basically met with them and did my first race 2 years ago at Bark River. This past weekend would be the date. But they have helped tremendously over the course of the past 2 years. I mean, it's crazy to think that they are, racing Pro 4 trucks and everything and have this big team and are helping me. But, I mean, they are a big help in it. I mean, from working on the cars to just helping me with technical stuff. It's amazing. And I don't honestly know where I'd be right now if it wasn't for them.
What do you enjoy most about short course?
Probably just the amount of competitiveness there is. It's everybody's base. I mean, in sportsman, it's one of the toughest classes, I think, just because everybody's the same speed. And once you get into the top 12, even, it's just everybody's the same pace, and it's hard to pass, and it's very competitive. But I think the reason I like off-road in UTV so much is because I grew up on dirt bikes. So racing motocross and then being on dirt and then basically going to a UTV, which is basically just, a four-wheel dirt bike in a way on a short course track. Just being back in the dirt and being back to somewhat where I started.
What are you most looking forward to about ERX this weekend?
I'm excited to get back to ERX because I have been on the track now. I mean, last time it was at the beginning of the series, it was the first time I had ever been. So I already know the track, and I'm excited to make a comeback from Lena because we had the motor blow up, and then we had problems with the car, and just a bunch of stuff happened. But I'm excited to make a comeback there and, see where it goes.
Thanks for listening to the Champ Off-Road Podcast, presented by AMSOIL.